Hi guys, Togo here with a new video, and this video is a tier list. Not really, it's really me brainstorming about my own specs and classes I will be playing in 10.2. Now, again, big disclaimer, we are 19th of September, so a lot of things can actually change. I think it will come out in 5 weeks, 10.2, so there is a lot of that can actually change on the cycles. But currently as it stands, I'm going to try to brainstorm a bit to give opinions about every single class to myself and to you, and then decide if I'm going to main or alt a character, or maybe main a character, or then just say nope, we are not going to play that class. Again, we're going to make a more precise video in the future about the specs, but I will not use a tier list. I will a tier list maker. I will basically just talk about those specs a bit more precisely. But currently, as it stands, I think 10.2 is a huge opportunity to play other classes or other specs that you may not play right now, because again, it's a fresh season, especially for PvP. There is SOLOQ RPG on the horizon. There is also solo shuffle. There will be a lot of healing changes, so maybe it will be more popular as well with queues. And I think it's a great time to actually like brainstorm for yourself what character you're going to play. Now, again, tier list season, there's not much to do in Tempo 1.7, so you will see a lot of tier lists on my channel. Unfortunately, I prefer to do discussion videos and guides, but there's not much to do on an end of season kind of thing. So let's discuss right away. We have DKs. DKs, whenever I'm talking about DKs, I'm talking about Unholy DK and Frost DK. I think Blood DK is pretty much like a bonus. If you like love Frost DK or Unholy DK, you can always play some Blood DK here and there in arenas or in PGs. I think it will be always seen bad to play a tank in PvP, unfortunately. You will get some hate messages. It just is what it is. But sometimes you have to look up for your own fun. If you like Blood DKs, just play Blood DK. But I'm going to talk about Unholy DK right now. I think Unholy DK currently, I'm not really liking the playstyle anymore. I tried to play Unholy DK these days, like I tried. I simply do not really like the dynamic it has. It feels also super squishy. It feels like the nerfs actually caught up to them. In 10.2 they get a few buffs, but they also get a few nerfs on the pets. Unholy Assault becomes like a flat damage increase instead of a haste increase. So maybe they will like feel a lot better in 10.2. But in 10.1.7 I feel like it doesn't really feel that well. I understand that it can be strong. I understand that it can perform, but I personally don't like how it performs, or at least how it's supposed to perform. But I think it's still a very strong spec. Frost DK, they are pretty much in the mud. I don't feel like they're going to change anything. In 10.2, they have to add more PvP talents. I'm afraid they're going to do that on a 0.5 patch, which is a bit too long. I think it's like 4 months from now, so it's going to be quite long before you get like a lot of PvP talent changes. But Frost DK, the tier set from 10.2 is quite interesting. I'm still not decided if I really want to main DK. I cannot say for sure I'm going to main one. That's the issue I have currently. I also cannot really say if I want to alt one. I think it's very frustrating to play sometimes, especially if you want to play Frost. And if you want to play Unholy DK, I mean, the gameplay is not that attractive to me anymore. But there is like the saving grace of like SOLOQ RPGs, where DKs can be quite interesting, especially Frost DK. I think Frost DK can perform very well, and they can actually like be very, very disruptive, and that can be a very fun thing to do. But I have to test a bit more, and unfortunately I don't get to test a lot on the PTR. So for me it's going to be a maybe. I'm not going to say nope, because DK is still has a very big place in my heart, I would say, for like the World of Warcraft lore and the design and how it plays sometimes. But I'm a bit like worried about Unholy DK and the direction it goes for Unholy DK. I feel like also the talents are a bit convoluted. It's very hard to actually take all the talents that you want as an Unholy DK. And you have to do a lot of concessions, while a lot of other specs can actually build however they want, and they can actually get all the goodies that they actually want for their class. So I'm going to put DK on maybe. DH. Now, DH, I think it was always going to be a class where I'm not really the most attracted to, but there is like a point where do I want to test a new class? Like, really, if I'm playing DH, or even Windwalker, by the way, if I'm playing DH, or even Evoker, I'm going to say that. If I'm playing DH, it will feel like a new class. I never really played it too much. I think I played it a few games in twos or in threes in Shadowlands, and then a few in Dragonflight really shortly, and I got my behind whooped because again I have like green gear and sometimes blue gear. I think DH will be in a great place because they will get a rework, so hopefully the rework is going to be good. There is a world where I want to play Havoc and try to see if the rework is going to work for me. Now, it depends on how they are going to rework. It depends on how they are going to make DH feel. That's why I can't really pronounce if it's going to be a nope, alt, or main. Again, if you're watching this video whenever the rework is going to be live on the PTR, I will give my opinion on the rework once it's live on the PTR, so you will see another video pop up for that. But currently, I'm actually saying maybe because I'm actually wanting to play something new and to explore other things than the classes I always play. People know me for warrior, shaman, sometimes warlock, and I would like to try maybe DH. I think DH could be a fantastic experience. I think the mobility is great. I think in RPGs it has a real good place. Again, we'll have to see for the rework if it's going to be better or not. But personally, I think a class like DH is also pretty low maintenance. You can really alt it correctly and still be performing, while you can main, for example, a harder class to play, and then you have like your main and alt army. Again, reminder, I play normally between 4, 5, 6 characters at a time, and even between those 4, 5, 6 characters, multiple specs across of them. So it feels like a lot of like maintenance to do, and I want to actually just put like a few easier classes or specs into my main or alt pools, so I can actually be making content, play them, and actually enjoy them without like making me feel like I'm behind on a learning curve. So Druid. I think Druid is going to be quite fantastic. I personally played a lot of Resto Druid in 10.1.7. Again, like everyone, the Treants kind of brought me back on the Resto Druid hype. The things I really enjoy about Druid is that it is very flexible. If you're playing Druid, you can play basically like a rogue, you can play basically like a mage, and you can be playing basically like a just healer with Resto Druid. Again, you have also Garden Druid if you enjoy that playstyle. Personally, I don't really like Garden Druid. I feel like if they could actually fuse it back with Feral, it would be maybe better. But I think that's a hot take, but I really liked before on Revolution where you could go bear form and put like a big slap on the face of someone and it feels like it hurts. Right now, if you go bear form as a Feral Druid, it's pretty much just for enriched regeneration, which is a bit sad. I would like to see bear form being relevant again as something you would want to shift into to be tanky, but also to slap people if you can. But currently that's not the case, right? But I'm actually hesitating. I want to main Druid. I really want to. Now, is it intelligent for me to play? Like, I think I can consider Druid as one of the more harder classes to play because every single spec feels very different. Also, Resto Druid, I play very aggressive normally, so it means that you have to. I play Feral Affinity or Boomia Affinity, which is basically me trying to weave in a lot of rafts, a lot of like moonfires, a lot of star surges. Or whenever I'm like a Feral Affinity, I try to go and help on the enemies and try to bleed them, and then go back to human form to heal my allies. It's very risky. I'm not really a great Feral Druid. I think Balance Druid can be very fun, but I'm very afraid for their nerf. Personally, I'm going to say that I want to main it because I want to do something else. In 10.2, I feel like Resto Druid is already a reason why you should play Druid to begin with if you need a healer in your like pool of classes and alts, mains and alts. I feel like, again, if I have like 4 or 5, 6 characters, I kind of need like a healer at least. And then Druid is also like a great class to play, because you can actually look, if you don't want to heal, you can always play balanced Druid and have fun with it. Or if you want to play like a rogue kinda, you can always play feral Druid and you can bleed people out like an assassination rogue. Again, I really like that choice, and personally I think it's time for me to go back to my roots, which always was Druid since the end of times. Again, played multiple games as a Druid in classic expansions. I think now is the time to actually play one. Alright, so I think Evoker is a weird one for me. My main issue is that Evoker, the aesthetic of Evoker doesn't look appealing to me. I actually don't like to be transforming into a silly dragon. I personally don't like that. So that automatically kind of makes me to go for a nope. Again, I haven't tested Preservation. Maybe Preservation is so more fun than any other healer that maybe it is worth to try it out. Now, for me, right now, if you tell me about Evoker, what my sentiment is that I'm not really willing to play it and to learn it just because of the aesthetical aspect of it. Now, gameplay-wise, Preservation could be very fun. I think Augmentation could be something that is going to be different because it's the first support spec in whole World of Warcraft. Now, I think they can maybe rework it until they can actually fine-tune it, but we'll have to see. And Devastation Evoker is like a bursty machine that is quite cheesy these days. For me, I think it's pretty easily a nope. I think if I had to choose between all those classes, I think Evoker is the one that I'm going to say instantly nope, and I'm going to trust my feeling towards it. Again, maybe you are a Evoker fan. So if you're a Evoker fan, please let me know in the comment section below why you are a Evoker fan. Why do you play Preservation? Why do you play Devastation? Why do you play Augmentation? I would like to hear that. Because for me, right now, I'm very stuck with the feeling of I don't want to play like a dragon. I don't want to play like that silly silhouette. And maybe you can just have an add-on to fix that. But it's still, I don't like it. Hunter. Now, Hunter was always like something I played years in, years out. I even made guides about it. I also got Legends in Season 1. Season 2, I'm not really playing Hunter, so I don't think I will get a Legend title on that. But I personally think that the BM Hunter changes are in the right direction, but we are still stuck with like pretty much only one build, maybe two if you're stretching out. And MM Hunter, I feel like it's quite boring because there's only one build that you're going to still play how it is. Now, hopefully they can rework a few town points here and there, tweak it pretty much, and try to make it like something different. More like Wrath of the Lich King, but I don't think they're going to go ever back on the Wrath of the Lich King iteration of MM. And Survival Hunter is very fun, but I feel like I can't really add anything to that spec, and it will be mostly something that I'm playing for fun. I don't think like I can add anything like content-wise, because I try to also see like content-wise, if I play a spec, can I be able to make content that is going to be watchable and enjoyable to watch. I feel like Survival Hunter is not really the case right now. What I do like about SOLOQ RPG is that hunters are going to be fantastic movement wise, and also just like, again, a side noter, like something that I'm playing right now on the PTR whenever it procs. It's not really a team fighting oriented player, but more like a side noter. I try to win 1v1s, 1v2s to actually like get an advantage in the future. So for me, I'm going to put it in alt, because I do feel like the RPG aspect could be very fun for hunters. I also feel like the solo shuffle aspect is also quite fun for a BM hunter. And if I would play a spec as a hunter, it would probably still be BM. It's low maintenance, like rotation wise, but it is also like you have like a skill factor where, again, you want to put your traps in without the scatter shot, which effectively is the better trap to put. I see a lot of hunters actually do scatter shot into trap, like freezing trap, just to get like the 6 seconds duration of a CC. It's more like guaranteed, but I like to use my scatter shot on the off DPS, so I can actually breathe a bit, because they are always going on me. So I feel like if you can actually manage to trap correctly, you can actually get your scatter shot, for example, on dire situations where you want to scatter the warrior or the paladin, for example. But I really like alt hunter. I think it's the most logical thing to do for myself. I don't want to really main it because I feel like, again, I don't want to be disappointed about the builds, and I feel like the spec diversity that Hunter has is not really as appealing to me than it was before, for example. If they manage to rework MM to a point where you actually have choices to make, I think then I would maybe want to play again, like MM Hunter, but currently I only have one spec I'm playing, it's PM Hunter, pretty much. Mage, I think Mage is actually very interesting. The issue is I am actually like a Warlock main, pretty much. I don't know if I'm going to main in 10.2 Warlock. I'm still going to decide it on this video, pretty much with how I brainstorm. But I think if I want to main Warlock, is it like too much on my plate to actually main also Mage? I think it is a high maintenance spec class where you do want to be very fluid with your mobility, very fluid with your CC, and actually know how to burst and how to consistent damage and how to actually escape death most likely. It's way less tanky than a Warlock, for example, except the tankiness of a Mage comes from the immunities that you get from Ice Block, the shielding that you can actually do to yourself pretty reliably, to avoid a lot of damage with your blinks. Your shimmer, excuse me, and also blink. Again, if you're playing arcane, you can actually be very tanky with your PvP talents, for example. I don't know. I actually like fire, but I think I would like instantly come back to fire mage if actually living bomb was something that you could actually talent for and did a lot of damage. I like meteor being a thing, but again, it's not really something you talent most likely because you want to go pyromaniac. I don't know. I'm going to put it on a maybe because it's very appealing. I also like the tier set as well, and I think the 3 specs give you enough of a variety to not be bored on Mage. So I'm going to put it in maybe. I think that's the better route for Mage. So next class that we are going to discuss is Monk, and Monk is going to be most likely a nope. I'm going to explain why. First and foremost, I think Windwalker is a high maintenance spec that you have to play. Mistweaver is not the most fun spec healing wise for me. Yes, there's fist weaving, but I feel like I can't bother with it. I just don't like it. I played it a lot. I think in 10.0.7 if I'm not mistaken, or a bit later. I don't remember anymore. But personally, I think Monk is just really not on my priority list going forward with just like gameplay and playing, but also just in general, also like content wise. I don't feel like I want to make content about monks. I think it can be fun. I just don't see myself play Windwalker in RPGs as well. Since it will most likely be a very big portion of my content. I feel like solo QRPGs, solo shuffle, I try to do also 2s and 3s. I feel like Windwalker is not really the most fun spec to me. I feel like I can have way more fun with Armsword, for example. But that's my opinion. Again, people may be different about it. But I simply don't really like the playstyle. I think it always has been like something that was on my mind since Mist of Pandaria, where I played Windwalker. I felt like I didn't really enjoy the playstyle. I think the playstyle currently is worse than in Mist of Pandaria, in my opinion. So I feel like there is no real reason for me to actually like push as a monk. It's difficult because I think Windwalker is very strong. I also think Mistweaver is also very strong, especially in RPGs. But I'm not really enjoying the playstyle. I think if I want to play like a more of a passive healer, if I was a casted Mistweaver, I would be playing Resto Druid, in my opinion. If I want to play more of an aggressive one, I would be playing Resto Shaman. That would be kind of the things I'm looking forward to. Paladin. I think Paladin is an excellent choice if you want to like push content. Also think the popularity of the spec also really works, especially for myself, but also for YouTube in general. Again, I also think content-wise, what do I want to make like videos about? Do I want to make videos about like guides, discussion videos, gameplay videos, all those things? I need to kind of mix it with my own enjoyment. I feel like Paladin is like one of those specs or like classes where I have Holy Paladin, which is also a very aggressive healer, and I also enjoy to play it, and also Retribution Paladin, which is I think one of the better specs to play. I unfortunately don't play too much Retribution these days because I'm trying to push on my Warlock for the Legend title currently. Because I have to get the Legend title for Season 2. I feel like I have to. But Retribution Paladin, yeah, it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting. I think I need to think, man. I'm going to for now put it in alt because I think I'm going to play Paladin for both Retribution and Holy Paladin. I also try to play Protection Paladin to try to make it work also. But I think Soul Shuffle, it's too annoying to play like versus the same spec every single time. So personally, I don't like it. But I think in RPGs, if there is like a way to incorporate tanks, I don't know, man. It's difficult because on the CTF map, like for example Warsong, and you're facing a Garden Druid or a Vengeance Demon Hunter, you're going to get obliterated. That's for sure. But I think you can still have enjoyment with Holy Paladin and also Retribution Paladin. I think that the reworks were a huge success. I do feel like they need to buff the healing from Retribution Paladin to feel more of a hybrid. But currently, I think it is a fantastic class to main. But for me, right now, I'm going to put it in alt because I'm thinking about a few other classes where I might main. Again, my ideal situation is I'll get like 6 classes in total, and then I will still triple down on the fact where are my mains, where are my alts, right? Priest, whenever I'm thinking about priest, I'm thinking about either disc priest or shadow priest. Shadow priest, find it very enjoyable. I think it's me because I am a Warlock main, so I feel like Shadow Priest, the playstyle is very similar, although you don't really have a TP, so it feels like a bit less mobile, for sure. I think it's one of the more immobile specs in the game and classes in the game, but I think it's very tanky in some aspects as well. I think it's also very fun to play. I think the damage is not half bad. The CC is very strong on Shadow Priest. I do like the fact that I can shut down a healer at any point for a very long time. I do feel like it's very annoying that I have to cast more spells than some other classes where again, if you cast a lot, you do get kicked a lot. But I like it. Disc Priest, it's really going to be enjoyable to play since they do kind of rework. Is it a rework? I think it's a rework. I like a mini rework kinda, where you have a bit less button bloat on your offensive power. It does feel on the PTR that once your Mind Blast is gone, your mind games is gone, your penance is gone, you have like a floating moment where you don't have anything to cast except maybe smite, but you don't really want to cast too much smite because you can get kicked on, and getting kicked on holy is worse than getting kicked on shadow, for example. You don't have any shadow school spells anymore except for mind blast and mind games, so it's mind control, of course, but not everyone is specking into it. I think it's also fantastic for RPGs. I think it's a very good class to play. I also like the tier set. I don't know, man. I want to main priest. I don't know if I really want to commit into it because it's also a lot of work. I think Shadow Priest is like a high maintenance spec. You really want to play most of the games as a Shadow Priest and try to learn it as good as possible. But for now, I'm going to put it on main. I think it's a good class to main. It has multiple, like again, Disc Priest and Shadow Priest is vastly different and also very fun. And Holy Priest, you can also play Holy Priest and have fun with it. But I think my 2 main specs as a priest, excuse me, would be Disc Priest and Shadow Priest. Now it could also drop at alt at any time whenever I feel like, look, I'm playing way more Paladin than Priest. But I think those are going to be the core of my main alt army for PvP. Rogues is a hard one because I feel like, again, it has high maintenance. You can't really play rogue and play warlock and play warrior and then shaman and then go back to rogue and be proficient. I feel like you have to put hours into it, which is again acceptable because not every single spec has to be easy. I do feel like you have easier specs to play as a rogue than like again you have like I think outlaw rogue is personally a hard spec to play, while assassination rogue is one of the easier classes to spec to play. Like for example, for me it looks more of a warrior kind of gameplay. I want to test rogue. I want to play rogue kind of because they kind of got reworked. Oh man, it will end with me playing multiple classes, right? I think that's the problem. One of the few things I really like about rogue is really got like 3 specs reworked. So it means that every single spec has a lot of content for myself, but also for my viewers. I do feel like my gameplay on rogue is really not that great. I do feel like I'm better of an assassination rogue than a sub rogue, but even then, I feel like I'm not really the best class or player for that class. But maybe it could be fun to see the progression and how much work I can put in to actually become better at it. I'm going to put it in maybe because I'm really not sure about it. I think there is a lot of maybes because again, I think it really depends on the PTR and how it goes. While rogue doesn't have to do with PTR, it has to do with again, am I able to climb and to become better as a rogue? And I feel like I have to put a lot of hours into it, and I can't really see rogue as an alt, but I can say solo QRBGs as a rogue may be very fun to play. I think just in general, rogue solo shuffle is also quite fun. 2v2, you're like one of the kings with hunter, and in 3v3 you have a lot of comps that can work. Again, you can play more of a cleave comp, you can play more of a setup comp, you can play like a lot of things. So okay, I put it in alt. I think put it in maybe would be too disingenuous for me. Excuse me, I can't even speak anymore. Because I feel like, again, the likelihood that I'm going to play rogue is very high. I think the tier sets are fantastic. I think the overall feel of rogue is very fun. I do want to not play Dark Iron Dwarf anymore because I do not like the aesthetic, let's be honest. I want to play undead, so I might level 1 to be undead, but I actually really like rogue. I like the rework as well. I do like the work that they put in for the class tree and for the spec tree. I'm actually excited for assassination rogue. I'm also kind of excited for outlaw rogue. Killing spree looks fun to play around. And sub rogue, again, it's sub rogue. You can also play like more of a combo builder build where you're going to do a lot of damage with your combo builders, but I will have to see. I want to test a lot of things, so it is on my wish list. I may be ending with 7 classes, but I will shave them down probably in the next video with specs, for example, or with the PTRs going and changes maybe on like specific classes. And for example, Shaman, I really enjoy Resto Shaman. A bit too much, I think. People say that it's very bad. I do feel like there is a bit of truth in that currently with 10.1.7. But I really like again, if I wish I recorded the games from yesterday, but I did literally kind of the same damage as the last DPS of the lobby because I'm very aggressive. Like I actually try to weave lava bursts every single time I can. If I don't have a Riptide, if I feel like I have my totems up and I have like defensives up, I can actually like spam lava burst, stormkeepers with lightning bolt, lava burst, lightning bolt, and decimate someone. I try to flame shock everyone so I get like instant lava surges, so I can actually like Riptide, lava surge, Riptide, and you get like a buff every time you're going to lava burst. You get like a buff towards your healing, so that's actually very good. So you want to do that to have the biggest heal possible. The only issue I have with Shaman, with Resto Shaman, is you have to build mastery, and building mastery kind of doesn't really help you with your damage. And I would like to see for healers that whenever you're building mastery, you also build a bit of damage. But I think it will be a bit harder for them to do because I think in Mythic it will be too OP. But we will have to see. I do like Resto Shaman. Enhancement Shaman is in a tough place. I do enjoy the fantasy. I do enjoy the gameplay. I do feel like I'm a bit shoved into a corner where sometimes all the builds feel like there is something lacking. I think I talked with multiple enhancement shaman and they kind of say the same thing where you have to sacrifice a lot of things if you want to go for specific builds. And if you go for the normal generalized build, you actually also still sacrifice a lot of things. There is still button blow though. Every time you're sacrificing something, something else comes up and there is no real like way to shave off some button bloat, but also your damage is going to be kind of the same in different builds. Some builds are more bursty, some builds are more consistent. Some builds try to be both, but they are neither. But I actually like Enhancer Shaman. And I think Elemental Shaman, it depends on how they're going to do that, man. I think there is a lot of things that they can actually change to Elemental Shaman to make it more fun. I think it's fun, but again, you see a lot of like those butters and cheaters right now with Elemental Shaman. I feel like they're going to address it by nerfing Elemental Shaman instead of like banning those cheaters. Yeah, man, it's going to be very interesting how they're going to take it. So I want to say Elemental Shaman, I want to main it, but I'm not really sure anymore. And I will end up with 8 mains pretty much, I think, with 8 characters to play, but we'll have to see. Again, there are a lot of specs that classes that I can actually switch out with maybes. But my mains, again, I'm kind of, dare I say, known for my shaman guys and for my shaman gameplays and my discussions about shamans and just my insight about shaman. I feel like it's always been something like part of me being a shaman like since I was very little. Same for Druid and Shaman were always my go-tos whenever I was little, and then I had like Warlock and Warrior as the backups. And like just a few expansions later I got like Paladin being like something I always made, while for example Rogue is something I never made, Priest I never made it, Hunter I made it in Classic and then I stopped playing Hunter pretty much, and then in Wrath I played it again. But again we'll have to see. I think Warlock, for example, is probably going to be a main of mine. I think it has 3 very different specs. I feel like demonology is really bad though. They really need a rework. I don't really enjoy to play it as well. I try to play it just to change a bit my gameplay and to try to diversify myself into that class. But my go-tos were always Destruction Warlock and Affliction Warlock. Destruction Warlock being like really the main spec for me these days, and Affliction Warlock being always like my fan favorite spec or like from all time pretty much. I like to rot people, which does feel like it's not really doing that much these days. Like now you're really a drain spec where every time you're going to do an Oblivion or a Drain Soul, you're going to do a lot of damage. The dots themselves, they are not really scary, but I really like the gameplay. I feel like I'm really at home whenever I'm playing Warlock, and I do feel like it's a main worthy class. And then I have Warrior, where it's a big question mark. I actually like Warrior. I really like the gameplay. For arms, I think Fury is a bit like they need to change something to make me more happy, I would say. The tier sets are strong, but for example, Fury, the avatar from the Audience Fury from Avatar doesn't proc the tier set, so it feels very clunky. If they actually like made it that it actually procs for the blood test or blood buffs increase of damage, then it would be more satisfying to play. I think they might change it. I feel like arms is still like shoved into the bleed build, which I personally don't like it. I'm going to this time going to put it as an alt, and I kind of again have difficulties removing classes from my alts and mains because I really enjoy those classes, and I'm going to maybe rank them as more likely that I'm going to remove, kinda. So for example, on my mains, the ones that I'm probably going to remove the fastest is probably Priest, and Druid is probably my 3rd main then. Because again, it is a healer, but also I have Balance Druid and Feral Druid. And if something has to drop from my mains to alt, it would be my Priest, for example. Shaman, it's very hard to drop it because I really like it. It's tough to actually say, look, I'm not going to play Shaman anymore. There is a point where maybe that can occur depending on buffs or nerfs. but again, I have to think about it. Alt wise, I think the ones that are more likely to drop are probably Hunter and Rogue. And then you have Paladin and Warrior, again, my melee classes. And you kind of see what I try to do with my mains and alts, right? I try to have like ranged DPS. So you have my ranged DPS, which is Warlock, pretty much. That is my ranged DPS with Shadow Priest. Then you have like your healers, kinda, and like slash hybrids that can also like be melee and be ranged, which is Druid and Shaman, so they are a bit of both. Then you have like your melee classes that are not really high uptime, like maintenance wise. I think Retribution, Paladin, and Arms Warrior is not really that difficult to play, in my opinion. There is like intricacies, but it's not like, I think ranged DPSs are more harder to play than melees in general, in my opinion. Then you have like Hunter, which is like BM Hunter, low maintenance pretty much, and it will depend highly on how they're going to do with buffs and nerfs. And Rogues is pretty much like the test class for me. So this is either I'm going to stick with it and it's going to be going back to main, or it's going to drop to nope if I feel like I'm not going to enjoy it. So I'll have to see and to test a lot on the like live servers or PTR if like games are like starting, but I like that. For example, Mage, the thing is, if I'm maining Warlock, is there a way for me to actually main Mage? I think it's like a bit less likely. DK, again, depends if they actually rework Frost to a certain point. I like the tier set, but again, playing your class only for a tier set is kind of silly, and unholy DK is not really appealing to me right now. DH, again, this depends on the rework. I feel like DH could be an interesting test, like Rogue, and it could like easily take the place of Rogue, for example. And then you have like, again, a bit more the diversity on the alt and mains that I would go for. And then you have the noobs, which pretty much are like guaranteed not played for me. I might try preservation one day, but I still can't level evoker because I can't go beyond the silliness that they are like looking whenever they are actually playing. I feel like it's not fun to watch a evoker on my screen. I think it's silly looking, and I have that with a lot of things. For example, if I have the wrong race on a class, I'm like legit ready to level another one to just get a better race, for example. I'm not willing to spend money on it though. I think $15 or €15 is a bit better spent on something else, but that's my opinion. But again, I think this is pretty much accurate, so you might again see a lot more videos from these classes, a lot less from these classes. But you see, like, again, there is a reason why I like making tier lists, because I play most of the classes in specs. I have some kind of insight on every single class and spec. I do feel like I know pretty much every single build from every single class and spec. Now, am I proficient at it? No, for sure not. I think I'm a way better Warlock than I would ever be a Rogue, for example. But I can explain why something is strong, or why something is bad, or why something is weak. And that is a kind of indication on what classes and spec I'm actually playing and ready to play come 10.2. Again, 10.1.7 is still ongoing and probably going to drag out, so I'm a bit scared of that, but whatever. If anything, please let me know in the comment section below what you would like to see next video wise. I want to actually make a video in the future about healers and type of healers and the difficulties for every single healer, because I try to get every single healer to 1800 and maybe to get them into 2100 territory once I'm like, again, comfortable to actually get them higher on like CR MMR wise. But I personally really liked the grinds I did with my healing specs. But I want to also get my legend title, my destruction warlock, because I feel like I can actually reach that pretty reliably. But anyways, thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate you. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. If you don't mind, please subscribe. Again, helps me a ton. But also like the video, because it then spreads to other people that haven't seen my videos yet. And also, if you want to support me, there are multiple ways that you can support me, so you can see in the description below. And yeah, we will see each other probably very soon in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.